Let's now move to the Big 12. And, well, the Oklahoma Sooners. Is this still Oklahoma Sooners territory? Riley's gone, and it didn't mean the NFL. It meant USC. So how surprising, I guess, was that? Who knows? But nowadays, college coaches can make more than NFL coaches, so probably not a big surprise. But Oklahoma turns to Brent Venables. And we just talked about it with Elliott and now with Venables. So this is where the Clemson coordinators have gone. So Oklahoma, Dylan Gabriel will be the quarterback. So Gabriel is the quarterback. He's going to be reunited with the offensive coordinator, Levy, who was coordinator with Central Florida with Gabriel. So that is a good deal to bring in that kind of chemistry with quarterback, with coordinator right off the bat. You know they're going to have no problem offensively with the skill position players like Eric Gray and Marvin Mims. I just think the big question is going to be on defense. He lost a couple of really stout defenders up front. And that's always been kind of the part of the offense, the part of the team that's held them back generally. So it's really going to take Brent Venables' magic on defense to get this team to be productive on both sides of the ball. But, coaching staff is good, offensive, explosive. They're going to be one of the top teams to beat as usual.
Well, they're going to have to find a way to come somewhere close in a sense to what the Oklahoma offense has been in the past. We know Venables is going to have that good defense, as you mentioned. That's in his blood. It's in his DNA. But they're going to have to open up an attack here. Last year, they were number one in the country in red zone offense last year. That won't be the case this year. I can guarantee you that, with Caleb Williams gone and Lincoln Riley not calling the shots. But it was a good pickup to bring Dylan Gabriel in here from Central Florida. He put up a lot of yards with that football program here, so he'll fit real well. The interesting stat that I came across about Oklahoma is they've won 4 more Big 12 championships in the last 23 years than they've suffered home losses. They only have 15 home losses in that way. So this football team knows how to win championships, and they don't lose games at home. If Venables can do that, keep the home slate clean, they could end up being the team to beat again this year.
Sticking inside the state, we have the Oklahoma State Cowboys. This close to not only winning the Big 12 championship, but being a playoff team. They could not get it done. Mike Gundy had a fantastic year last year, but we mentioned before, Knowles is gone. The defensive coordinator's off to Ohio State. And not only is Knowles gone, but they lose several key players on defense. They do get Colin Oliver back, who was a freshman sensation for them, so that's cool. But and Spencer Sanders, a quarterback, he's a good college quarterback. But overall, I just can't see them having the type of season they had last year, especially when you lose such a good coach like Knowles. I think they're going to take a couple of steps back this year.
I think they'll take a step backwards here this year as well. They're going to bring Derek Mason in from Vanderbilt as their new defensive coordinator here this football season here. And the returning production that they're suffering from this year and the transfer portal come up really short for this football program last year. The combination of the two, I think, sends Oklahoma State one step back this year.
Baylor, meanwhile, they lose some key players also on defense. I think a couple of the guys that I remember they lost, they're losing Bernard. They're losing the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, Petrie. So they got some really big shoes to fill on defense. They've got a couple of good players on defense, and Dave Aranda is a genius defensive coordinator and now a head coach at Baylor, and he did a tremendous job winning the Big 12 championship last year. It's all going to come down to quarterback Blake Shapen and whether or not they have enough on offense because they lost a couple of key players on that side of the ball.
Yeah, Dave Aranda did a great job with this football program last year. They really, really surprised everybody in the country. To the point where they had Charlie Brewer transferred out of the program because of the great quarterback play and the great coaching they got last year. But again, we're going to use that phrase again. Now they're the hunted instead of the hunter, which they did last year, and they caught teams by surprise. I don't know whether Aranda's got 2 years in a row doing just that. He's short on returning experience this year. Only 12 starters are back this year. They do return 3 defensive linemen from a year ago last year. That's good news. But I think because of what they did last year, everybody's going to want a piece of the Baylor Bear this season.
Yeah, I think there's too much of a drop-off as well. At BYU, by the way, September 10th. That's going to be a tough one.
Yes.
Okay, Texas. What kind of a year is Texas going to have? We talked a little bit about it yesterday because we were talking rankings, and some crazy guy decided that Texas was the number one team in the country on the coach's side. Steve Sarkisian, we know he can recruit, but he's never proven that he's a really good head coach. He's just proven he's a really good recruiter. But that's what Texas needs right now. They got to recruit, and it's Texas. It's a fertile ground of Texas, so they should be able to recruit. It's all going to come down to the quarterback from Ohio State. If this kid's the real deal, they are going to be really explosive on offense. I just don't think they have enough on defense yet.
I don't think they do have enough on defense. And, all of what is going on there right now, who was the person we talked yesterday that voted Texas number one in the country to win in the or in the college coaches preseason poll? My
Brett
goodness.
Venables.
Yeah, well, that's what we think it might have been. But anyway, I think there's too much pressure on Texas here this football season. I know they're in a rebound year. It should be a mission type season for this football team here. But you've got some players that are missing here this year. Casey Thompson, we talked about before. Cade Brewer, their tight end, is gone. I just think there's too much pressure here. And they've also got now Quint Ewers, the quarterback that transferred over from Ohio State. He was in Texas. He went to Ohio State. He's back in Texas here again this year. He's going to have to step up and prove himself this year. The issue with this football team is they weren't as bad last year as their record indicated because 5 of their losses were by 8 or fewer points. That makes them that mission team this year. But I still think there's too much pressure on them. A lot of people having them win the Big 12. I'm not one of them.
And they did lose to Kansas last year.
Yes. Yeah. The 34 point favorite. Go figure.
But look, Bijan Robinson, a running back, Worthy, Winnington, and Nair, the transfer at wide receiver. They got good tight ends. It's all up to the Ohio State quarterback. If he can play well, they're going to score a ton of points, but I just don't think they got the defense. Alabama, September 10th, coming to Texas. So you better get them now because I'm sure they got to go to Alabama next year probably, or the year after. But, hey, we'll know how quickly Texas is for real when they take on Alabama on September 10th.
Yeah, that'll be the true telling tale, but and I think that'll also expose Texas as well because there's a huge coaching mismatch in that game, Sarkisian against Nick Saban.
The 2 sleepers in the conference, Kansas State and Iowa State. And isn't it nice that we can call Iowa State a sleeper again? Because when all of a sudden last year, it was supposed to be the year they were going to knock down the door. They had everybody back, including Brock Purdy. This was their year. And it was the worst year for Iowa State in like 3 or 4 years. So now they're back to being a sleeper team. And if the kid, the young quarterback can be as good as they're hoping, then maybe that could help them surprise as many people as they're going to need to. Kansas State, meanwhile, I've been a big Chris Kleiman fan. I think this is clearly his best team. He's got Deuce Vaughn, transfers in Adrian Martinez. He's got Malik Knowles. So they got exciting 3 players on offense, and on defense, they got some really good talent as well. So this is his best team. It would not surprise me to see Kansas State or Iowa State contend for the Big 12 championship and play in the championship game.
I'm 100% on that same train with you. I'm a big Chris Kleiman fan as well. I know a lot of people don't dig Adrian Martinez at Nebraska. He turned the ball over too many times. I agree with that. But the fact of the matter is the kid set 17 school records while he was there, and he's one of only 4 active quarterbacks that have passed for 8,000 yards and rushed for 1,000 yards. He will be dynamic in this offense here for Kleiman this football season here. And what I really like about this team is the change they made on defense last year. They went to a 4-man front, or from a 4-man front to a 3-man front, and what had happened? They shaved 11 points off of their points allowed and 100 yards per game on their allow average. If that continues with that football defense this year, like you say, I think this team can challenge for the Big 12 championship.
All right, and then you've got TCU and West Virginia, I think are in the same boat because they got Sonny Dykes is now going to be there for his first year. The longtime head coach, Patterson, is gone. So maybe it was time for a change. I don't know, though. Quarterback situation is pretty good. I think I like the competition here. Kendre Miller and Quentin Johnson are explosive at running back and wide receiver. So if they get good quarterback play, TCU could be interesting because they usually field a pretty good defense. Sonny Dykes is not a bad head coach, at least where he has coached before. But I don't know. They're a mystery team still, but they've got talent.
Well, they've got talent. The problem is their defense really kind of shredded last year, and Dykes is going to have to patch that up this football season here. And they were 122nd against the run in the country last year. That won't work in the Big 12 conference. And Dykes is not a defensive genius. He brings in Joe Gillespie as his defensive coordinator from Tulsa. That should help a little bit that way this year. But he's got big, big shoes to have to fill here in Chris Patterson, Gary Patterson, I should say. 21 years, only 4 losing seasons at TCU. I don't know about this. I know he's bringing a ton of talent back on offense. 10 starters are coming back that way for this football team. 6.5 wins for their season win total. If Dykes strikes up the offense and at least any at all improves that defense, they can get over those 6.5 wins.
Neil Brown in West Virginia. I could see another bowl season. He gets JT Daniels, the USC Georgia guy who can't stay healthy. But if he stays healthy, that's good news. Dante Stills is an explosive defender. I don't think they have a whole lot else. I see they have talent. I think they'll win a few games. They'll go to a bowl, but I can't really expect more than that.
Well, Neil Braun was expected to do a lot more than he did. He had 3 consecutive double-digit winning seasons at Troy, and he was a real nice hire when they brought him in here, but just 1 winning season, 17 and 18 overall at West Virginia for 3 years. It's going to have to get better for Neil Braun here real quick. The good news is JT Daniels transfers in. He's college football's transfer cover boy. It seems every year he's going to a new school, and they'll talk about a 5-star recruit, and he couldn't beat out Stetson Bennett at Georgia, but he ends up here at right now with West Virginia this football season. But they do bring Graham Harrell in here as a new offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach. If he works well with Daniels, that could be a real spark for this football team. The biggest problem I see, though, is if you take a look at their final 7 games of the season, 6 of them are against teams that were in bowl games last year, which clearly means that they have to get off to a good start this football season here if they wish to become a winning team this year.
Texas Tech, it's going to take some time for Joey Mcguire to rebuild. They're going to go back to being a run-and-shoot team. They went to Matt Wells. He tried to turn him over to more of a defensive team. They didn't like that there, so they're going back. They probably weren't selling tickets. So now they're going back to being more of an explosive team. So, but yeah, they get the Oregon transfer. He'll probably be the quarterback, but that's asking too much. I actually think I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas finished ahead of Texas Tech this year because, you and I, we're both big Lance Leipold fans, and I could see Kansas taking a step up. They won 2 games last year. I could see them winning 4 or 5 this year.
From what I'm hearing, Greg, and it's from people that are kind of in the know in the Big 12 conference here. A lot of people think Texas Tech is going to be surprisingly good this football season. Yes, they do. This Joey Mcguire is probably not well known, but he is in the at least in the high school football glory in the state of Texas here.
Recruiting.
Exactly. He'll recruit that state like all get out, and also. He's bringing in some former Baylor assistants with him here as well. If Oregon's Tim DeRuyter is his defensive coordinator here. So if things go well and people overlook this football program here, they could end up pulling the rug on teams here. 5.5 wins for their season win total. If they hit 6, I'm not going to be surprised.
All right, we'll keep an eye on Texas Tech. And then, like I said, Kansas. They found the right coach. I don't think there's any question about that. It's going to take them time, though.
Well, it's going to take them time. They feel really good about what they did last year. You mentioned that monster upset in Austin last year, winning as a 30-point underdog there. That's going to be a big, big boost for confidence for this football program this year. And they're bringing 17 starters back with a very, very well-coached team. You've got 2.5 wins for your season win total here. I think you add up all the ingredients. I think Kansas wins 3 games and cashes that ticket.
Yeah, that's exciting.